Welcome back. What do Wi-Fi, duct tape and central heating all have in common? How about the discovery of the DNA double helix, pulsars and the chemical structure of the sun? How about the fire escape, computer algorithms and caller ID? Given? Well, the title of this series should probably have made the answer obvious, but these are all inventions or discoveries made by women and often incorrectly credited to men. Step forward and take a bow. Hedy Lamarr, Vesta Stout, Alice Parker, Rosalind Franklin, Jocelyn Bell Burnett, Cecilia Payne-Gaposchkin, Anna Connolly, Ada Lovelace and Shirley Ann Jackson, respectively. Now, the previous two series on this channel have covered the leaders of two amazing and historically important empires, but I couldn't help notice that despite the occasional woman creeping into the frame, both series were fundamentally about the lives of men. Now, to an extent, that was inevitable. It's not that women had no role in society historically, quite the opposite. It's more that what roles they were allowed to have were restricted by men, and that history, by which I mean a lot of the primary sources on which historical research relies, tends to have been written by men, and these sources often overlooked or downplayed the contributions that women made. So, to help redress the balance a little bit, and in honour of March as Women's History Month, for this new series it's going to be all women all the time. Men may get a look in occasionally, but they're going to be peripheral players at best. And when I began researching this series, I started by creating a list of 10 historically significant women, but quickly ran into a problem. It was almost impossible to narrow the field down to 10. To try to narrow the focus a little, I excluded figures from the 20th century, figuring they were already better known, and so then I managed to get the list down to 30. So over the next however long it takes me, here in chronological order are the women whose lives we're going to look at. Hatshepsut was an Egyptian pharaoh who ruled as king, not queen, for over 2 decades, leading major trade expeditions and monumental building projects. Cleopatra VII was the last active ruler of the Ptolemaic kingdom of Egypt and was renowned for her intelligence, political acumen, and alliances with Roman leaders Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. Hypatia was an Alexandrian Neoplatonist philosopher, mathematician, and astronomer who headed the Platonist school, authored influential works on conic sections, and was killed by a Christian mob. Aisha bint Abi Bakr was the third wife of the Prophet Muhammad, a leading scholar who transmitted thousands of hadiths and played key roles in early Islamic politics. Wu Zetian was the only woman to rule China as emperor in her own right, ascending from concubine to establishing her own Zhou dynasty amid ruthless political maneuvers. Fatima al-Fihri was the founder of the University of Al-Qarawiyyin in Fez, Morocco, considered the world's oldest existing, continually operating degree-granting university. Murasaki Shikibu was a Japanese noblewoman and lady-in-waiting who wrote the tale of Genji, the world's first novel, offering profound insights into Japanese court life. Awa al-Sulahai was a Yemeni queen of the Suliyid dynasty who ruled independently for decades, promoting Islami Shiism and overseeing prosperous trade networks. Hildegard of Bingen was a German Benedictine abbess, visionary mystic, composer, writer on medicine and natural science, and influential preacher in medieval Europe. Eleanor of Aquitaine was Queen Consort of France and England, one of the wealthiest and most powerful women in the Middle Ages, who led the Second Crusade. Tomo Gozen was a female samurai who fought in Japan's Genpei War and was famed for her archery, swordsmanship, and loyalty to Minamoto no Yoshinaka. Shajar al-Dur was an Egyptian sultana who briefly ruled as the first Muslim female monarch, repelling the Seventh Crusade. Raisa Sultana was the Delhi Sultanate's first and only female sultan, who promoted meritocracy over noble birth and was deposed in a rebellion. Kutulan was a Mongol warrior princess and niece of Kublai Khan, renowned for her prowess in wrestling, archery and combat, who led her troops in battle. Joan of Arc was a French peasant girl turned military leader who, inspired by divine visions, rallied the French army to key victories in the 100 Years' War before her execution for heresy. Isabella of Castile was a Spanish queen whose marriage to Ferdinand of Aragon unified Spain, sponsored Columbus's voyages, and enforced the Inquisition to consolidate Catholic power. Elizabeth I was a Queen of England whose reign saw the defeat of the Spanish Armada, cultural flourishing, and England's rise as a Protestant power. Sayyida al-Hurra was a Moroccan pirate queen and governor of Tetuan who allied with Ottoman corsairs to raid European ships and defend against Spanish-Portuguese incursions. Queen Nzinga was an Ndongo Matamba ruler in present-day Angola who resisted Portuguese colonial expansion through diplomacy, guerrilla warfare, and strategic alliances. Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz was Mexico's most brilliant intellectual, a self-taught nun poet who defended women's right to education against church authorities. Catherine II, the Great, was the German-born Empress of Prussia, who expanded the empire dramatically, modernized administration, and corresponded with Enlightenment thinkers like Voltaire. Mary Wollstonecraft was an English writer and philosopher whose A Vindication of the Rights of Women argued passionately for women's education and equality in an era of rigid gender norms. Sojourner Truth was born into slavery as Isabella Baumfree and became an abolitionist, women's rights activist, and powerful orator, famous for her Ain't I a Woman speech. Nana Asmau was a poet, scholar and teacher in Nigeria's Sokoto Caliphate who educated thousands of women through innovative mobile schools and preserved Fulani oral traditions. Ada Lovelace was an English mathematician who wrote the first computer algorithm for Charles Babbage's analytical engine, envisioning computing's potential. Harriet Tubman was an escaped enslaved woman who conducted 13 rescue missions via the Underground Railroad, freeing about 70 people, and who later spied for the Union in the Civil War. Rani Lakshmibai was a queen of Jhansi who became a symbol of resistance in India's 1857 Sepoy Mutiny, leading her troops against British forces until her death. Florence Nightingale was a British social reformer who revolutionised nursing during the Crimean War with sanitation reforms that drastically reduced soldier mortality rates. The Empress Dowager Cixi was the concubine-turned-regent who dominated Qing China for decades, modernising the military whilst suppressing reforms, and Emmeline Pankhurst was a British suffragette leader who founded the Women's Social and Political Union, pioneering militant tactics like hunger strikes to secure women's voting rights. So from around 1500 BCE to the beginning of the 20th century CE, 30 global figures, military leaders, religious leaders, philosophers, artists, scholars, reformers, trailblazers, 30 women who made a lasting mark on history. I hope you'll find some names there that are new to you and some lives that you will find interesting. I'm looking forward to doing the research and learning some new stuff and telling you all about it, and I hope you will join me for that. So see you soon. Please make sure you like, share and subscribe on the way out, and whatever you're up to, till we meet again, have a great day.